My wife cheated on me with her boss, then manipulated the will to claim our $500, $0 house and $200, $0 in savings, and now she's suing me for half of it all. How did I not see the past 5 years coming? I never thought I'd be the guy to get like this, but here I am. The most shocking thing. It wasn't just that my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me with her boss, Mark. It was how she manipulated everything afterward, turning our life upside down and trying to take everything I worked for. I mean, I should have seen it coming, but I was too busy trusting her, too comfortable in the routine we built over the years. Lisa and I had been together for over 10 years. We met in college, got married right after, bought a house in the suburbs, and built what I thought was a stable life. She was the kind of woman who always played the part of the loving wife, or so I thought. She was beautiful, ambitious, and seemed genuinely into me. We had our arguments, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary, or so I thought. The first signs of trouble started subtly. She began working late more often, claiming it was just her boss pushing for deadlines or some new project. I didn't think much of it at first. Lisa was always busy with her career. She'd come home exhausted, sometimes smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, but she'd brush it off, laugh, and say I was imagining things. Still, I noticed her phone was always locked, and she'd hide it when I was around. Little things that I brushed aside because I trusted her. Then came the secretive texts. I'd catch her sneaking her phone into the bathroom, or she'd get defensive if I tried to look over her shoulder. I asked her about it once and she snapped, telling me I was paranoid, that I was reading too much into her work stuff. She'd say, "You're overthinking, Jason, I love you. It's just work, nothing more." But her tone was sharp, her eyes darted away, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The real blow came unexpectedly. It was a Monday night after she'd gone out for her work dinner. I was waiting for her to come home, and I decided to check her email, just a quick peek, I told myself. I never thought I'd find what I did. Instead of work emails, I saw messages from Mark, her boss. It wasn't just professional talk. It was flirtatious, suggestive, and downright inappropriate. I saw pictures of her in a hotel, her in bed, and conversations where they talked about how much they wanted to see each other again. That moment hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt like I was punched in the stomach. My mind was racing. I felt betrayed, furious, and honestly devastated. I didn't want to believe it at first. Maybe it was some kind of joke or a misunderstanding. But then I saw the dates, the times, the explicit messages. It was real. My wife, the woman I loved and trusted, was cheating on me with her boss. I kept reading, trying to find some kind of explanation, some reason she'd give me to make it okay. But there was nothing, just a series of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. I felt like I'd been hit with a truck. How long had this been going on? Did she ever love me? Did she ever care? All the questions swirled in my head, and I was paralyzed with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. I knew I couldn't confront her immediately. I had to plan. I needed to gather more evidence, figure out what she was up to, and decide what I was going to do next. But deep down, I already knew my marriage was over. The woman I thought I knew had been lying to my face for years. I just didn't see it coming. I didn't see the signs. And now everything was about to change forever. Would you like me to continue with the next part? After I found those messages, I sat there on the edge of our bed for what felt like hours. My mind was racing, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I kept replaying everything I'd seen, trying to make sense of it. How could Lisa do this to me? We had a good life, or at least I thought we did. We had plans, a future. And here she was, sneaking around with her boss, probably lying to my face every day. I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, but I also knew I needed to be smart about it. I didn't want her to get wind of what I knew before I was ready. So I waited until the next morning when she was supposed to leave for work. That's when I started planning my move. I decided to follow her that day. I wanted to see where she went after she left the house, who she met, what she was doing. It wasn't easy. I felt sick just thinking about spying on my own wife. But I needed proof, and I needed to catch her in the act if I could. So I slipped out early and followed her. She went straight to her office, but I knew she wasn't there for work. Later that afternoon, I saw her leave the building and get into a sleek black car with Mark. They drove to a nearby hotel, not a restaurant or a coffee shop, but a hotel. That confirmed everything for me. She wasn't just cheating, she was doing it openly without any shame. My stomach turned, but I kept my composure. I went back home and started digging through our finances. I needed to understand exactly what she was after. Turns out she'd already been manipulating our will. I found documents that showed she'd changed her beneficiaries, nomming herself as the primary heir, claiming she'd always had the legal right to everything. I was stunned. I never signed any of those papers, but somehow she'd managed to do it without me noticing. She'd also gotten her hands on our bank accounts, savings, everything. That's when it hit me hard. Lisa wasn't just having an affair, she was planning to take everything. The house we bought together, the savings we had for our future, all of it was at her mercy now. I realized she'd been lying to me for years, slowly building her case to screw me over. I was livid. How could she be so cold, so calculating? I felt betrayed on every level, emotionally, financially, and morally. I'd been a fool for not seeing the signs sooner. I was angry, yes, but mostly I felt betrayed. She manipulated the will, lied about her intentions, and now she was preparing to sue me for half of everything. She was claiming I was unfit, that I'd been neglectful, even saying I was abusive, all lies, of course. She'd spun a web of deceit, and I was caught right in the middle of it. I knew I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to fight back, but I also knew I had to be smart. I started gathering evidence. Her messages with Mark, the forged documents, the bank statements. I wanted to catch her in a lie, and I wanted to make sure I had proof if I ever took her to court. I also contacted a lawyer secretly, explaining everything, and asked for advice. The most infuriating part, Lisa had the nerve to act like she was the victim. She'd lie to her friends, say I was abusive, controlling, anything to paint me as the bad guy. Meanwhile, she was out screwing her boss, plotting to take my house and savings, and then had the audacity to sue me for half of it all. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind, so trusting. That night I sat alone in my office, staring at the files I'd compiled. I felt empty and furious at the same time. How did I not see this coming? How did I let things get so bad? I thought about what I'd do next. I knew I had to stand my ground, fight for what was mine, and expose her lies. But I also wondered how much more damage there was I hadn't uncovered yet. This whole thing has turned my world upside down. I used to think I had a good life, a happy marriage. Turns out I was living next to a complete stranger. It's a bitter pill to swallow. Realizing the person you loved and trusted the most turned out to be the biggest liar and manipulator I've ever known. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that sometimes the people closest to you hide the ugliest truths. Would you like me to continue with the next part? The next few days were a whirlwind of planning and emotional chaos. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that bitchy smirk she gave when she lied to my face. Lisa had become this stranger to me, and honestly, it was like mourning someone I once loved. But I knew I could just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I had to do something, and fast. I met with my lawyer in secret, told him everything I'd uncovered. He was cold, professional, and told me I had a strong case to contest her claims, that she couldn't just manipulate a will without my knowledge, especially since I'd never signed anything giving her that power. We discussed the legal options, how to freeze the accounts, and how to prepare for her upcoming lawsuit. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on Lisa and Mark. I needed to know exactly how far she was willing to go. Meanwhile, Lisa kept playing her game. She'd come home pretending everything was normal, acting like I was overreacting, accusing me of paranoia. She'd throw tantrums, call me controlling, say I was just insecure. But I saw through her. She was nervous, jittery, probably afraid I was onto her. Her lies kept piling up. She claimed she was working late because of important meetings, but I knew better. I had the evidence. I knew she'd been lying about everything. One day, I decided to confront her directly. I told her I knew about her affair, about the forged documents, about her plans to screw me over. She looked surprised at first, then furious. She started yelling, calling me crazy, saying I was making things up. She said I was paranoid because I didn't trust her, that I was trying to ruin her career, her reputation. But I didn't buy any of it. I had enough proof to bury her in court. Her reaction was classic Lisa, manipulative, bitchy, and full of excuses. She said she loved me, that it was just a mistake, that Mark was just a bad influence. She insisted she'd never do anything to hurt me, that I was overreacting, but I knew better. I'd seen the messages, the bank statements, the forged will. There was no denying it. That night I felt a mix of heartbreak and rage. I was angry at her for betraying me, for lying, for trying to steal what was mine. I was hurt because I'd trusted her for so long, and she'd thrown that trust away. I was also scared of losing everything I worked for, scared of what she might do next. I realized I was in a fight for my life, my future, my dignity. I started drafting a plan to move out, to get a new place, and to prepare for the legal battle ahead. I knew I couldn't stay under the same roof with her. I also contacted a financial advisor to see how much of our money was truly hers now, and how I could protect what was left. The house, the savings, everything. She had her hands on it all, and she was trying to claim it through her manipulations. One thing I couldn't ignore was how she tried to turn the tables on me. She started accusing me of being controlling, jealous, even abusive, to make herself look like the victim. She'd call her friends, spread rumors, and try to sway everyone's opinion. But I had the evidence, and I was ready to fight her in court if it came to that. I wasn't going to let her walk away with my house and savings without a fight. The most frustrating part, Lisa's attitude. She acted like she was the one wronged, like I was the bad guy for catching her. She'd say I was ruining her career and reputation. But the truth was, she'd been lying from the start. She'd been scheming, manipulating, and cheating on me with her boss for months. And now she was trying to manipulate her way out of it all, claiming she was innocent. Honestly, I don't know how I kept my composure. I was furious, broken, and betrayed, but I knew I had to stay level-headed. I couldn't let her see how much she'd hurt me, not yet. I was already planning my next moves. I'd fight her in court, expose her lies, and make sure she paid for what she'd done. I wasn't going to just roll over and let her take everything I'd worked for. This whole thing has changed me forever. I used to think I was a good judge of character, but now I see how blind I was. Lisa was never the person I thought she was. She was a liar, a manipulator, and a user. And I'm just trying to pick up the pieces and figure out how to move forward. Would you like me to continue with the next part? The days that followed were a blur of legal meetings, secret meetings, and sleepless nights. I was trying to keep everything together while also preparing for the inevitable courtroom battle. My lawyer told me I had a solid case, but that didn't make it any easier to stomach knowing what Lisa had done. She'd spent months planning this, manipulating our entire life, and now she was trying to steal what was mine. I started documenting everything, every conversation, every message, every financial transaction. I wanted to have a record of her lies and her manipulations. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her and Mark. I needed to know if she was doing anything else behind my back, if she was trying to hide assets, or if she was planning to run. The Pies reports confirmed my fears. She was still seeing Mark, and she was making moves to transfer money. I felt sick. One afternoon, I caught her in a lie that knocked the wind out of me. She called me, pretending to be so innocent, claiming she was at a spa appointment when I saw her leaving a hotel with Mark earlier that week. She tried to tell me it was just a friendly lunch, that I was overreacting. But I had the photos clear as day. It was a slap in the face. All her lies, all her manipulations. She'd been playing me for months, hiding her affair, planning to take everything I owned. That night I sat alone in the house that once felt like home. It was cold, empty, and full of memories that now felt like ghosts. I thought about how Lisa always played the victim, how she'd lied so effortlessly, how she'd managed to turn everyone against me. She'd even started telling her friends I was abusive, a complete lie. I knew she was trying to turn people against me to make herself look better, but I refused to be painted as the bad guy. I had the evidence. I had the truth. I made the decision to move out. I couldn't stay under the same roof with her anymore. The trust was gone, and I didn't want to be around her manipulative attitude. I found a small apartment nearby. It wasn't much, but it was enough to get away from her for a while. I started packing up some essentials, trying to keep my emotions in check. I knew this was just the beginning of a long battle, but I was determined to fight for my rights. Meanwhile, Lisa's attitude only got worse. She started showing her true colors: bitchy, entitled, and aggressive. She'd call me names, accuse me of trying to ruin her, and say I was the one cheating all along. She'd threat to take me to court, claiming she had all the right to the house, the savings, everything. She even hired her own lawyer, and I knew she was dead serious about taking me down. I couldn't believe how cold she'd become. The woman I'd loved and trusted was now a stranger, a manipulative schemer. She lied about everything, and now she was trying to turn the tables. I knew I needed to stay calm, stay focused, and keep my evidence ready. I'd fought for years to build that house, to save those savings, and I wasn't going to let her steal it all without a fight. The worst part, the emotional toll. I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. I kept asking myself how I didn't see the signs, how I missed all the little clues. I kept wondering if I was just blind, or if she was that good at hiding her true self. I felt betrayed by the woman I thought I knew. I trusted her with everything, and she'd used that trust to manipulate and lie. Every night I'd lie awake, replaying everything, trying to find some way to fix it, some way to turn it around. But deep down, I knew it was over. The damage was done. She'd broken whatever bond we had, and now I was fighting just to keep what was mine. I also started realizing that my feelings of love had turned into a mixture of anger and disappointment. I was angry at her, furious that she'd lied, but I was also disappointed in myself for not seeing it sooner. My mind kept circling back to the fact that she had manipulated the will, forged documents, and was now trying to sue me for half of everything. That was the most infuriating part. She thought she could just take what she wanted and leave me with nothing. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I had my lawyer, my evidence, and a burning desire to make her pay for what she'd done. I guess I'm still trying to process everything. How someone I loved and trusted could become so cold, so calculating, so willing to ruin me for her own gain. I keep asking myself if I could have done something differently, if I missed the signs. But honestly, I think I just trusted her too much. I thought she was my partner, my equal, my wife. Turns out, she was just playing me all along. Would you like me to continue with the next part? The courtroom preparations took up most of my days, and honestly, it was a nightmare. Lisa's lawyer was aggressive, trying every dirty trick in the book to paint me as the bad guy. She claimed I was abusive, controlling, and that I'd neglected her. All lies, of course. But I knew I had the truth on my side. Still, it was exhausting watching her spin her web of lies, knowing she'd do anything to win. I had my own legal team, and we worked tirelessly to gather every piece of evidence I had. The forged documents, the bank statements, the photos of her with Mark, everything was meticulously organized. I knew that if I could just get the court to see through her manipulations, I'd have a fighting chance. But I also had to brace myself for her next move. Lisa was not the type to go quietly. One day, I found out she was trying to get a restraining order against me. She claimed I was harassing her, that I was threatening her. I was furious. I knew she was trying to turn me into the villain so she could look innocent. I had evidence of her sneaking around, her lies, her manipulations, but I had no idea how far she was willing to go. I had to stay calm, even when she was throwing accusations left and right. The worst part was seeing her play the victim in court, crying fake tears, pretending she was just a helpless woman. Meanwhile, I sat there, knowing she was scheming behind my back. I couldn't believe how cold she'd become, how she'd turned her charm into a weapon. I kept thinking about all the times I'd trusted her, all the memories we shared, and how she'd thrown it all away for her greed. The day of the hearing finally arrived. I was nervous, but I knew I had the truth on my side. My lawyer laid out everything: the forged will, the bank transfers, the affair with Mark, her attempts to manipulate the estate. I watched her lawyer try to discredit me, but I had everything documented. I was ready. When the judge asked questions, I answered calmly, confidently, refusing to let her lies shake me. And then, the moment of truth. The judge looked at all the evidence and made her ruling. She ordered Lisa to return the forged documents, freeze her attempts to claim the house, and her the right to sue me for half of everything. It was a huge relief, but I knew this wasn't over. Lisa still had her lawyer, and I was sure she'd try to appeal or come up with some new scheme. Despite the victory, I was drained. I felt like I'd been through hell and back. I'd fought for my house, my savings, my dignity. But more than anything, I'd learned a harsh lesson. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you the most. Lisa's betrayal wasn't just about the affair or the money. It was about the fact that she'd lied to my face for years, manipulated everything I held dear, and tried to destroy me. In the aftermath of everything, I moved out of the apartment, leaving behind the chaos and the memories. I started rebuilding my life piece by piece. I cut ties with Lisa completely. I changed my phone number, blocked her from social media, and focused on healing. I still think about her sometimes, about how she managed to deceive me so completely. But I also realize that I can't let her define me. I have to move on, learn from this, and guard my heart better in the future. Looking back, I see how blind I was to her true nature. I thought I was building a life with a partner, but instead, I was living with someone who was scheming behind my back. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Trust is earned, not given blindly. Watch for the signs and don't ignore your instincts. Because once someone crosses that line into betrayal, it's almost impossible to come back from it. I'm still healing, still trying to pick up the pieces of what's left of my life. But I know one thing: I will never let anyone manipulate or betray me like that again. I've learned my lesson the hard way. The pain is still fresh, but I'm stronger for having gone through it. And someday, I hope to find happiness again, with someone who truly deserves my trust. Would you like me to finish with the final part? Looking back, I realize how much this whole ordeal changed me, probably forever. I used to think I was a good judge of character, someone who could see through lies and manipulations. Turns out, I was blind to the woman I married, blinded by love and trust. Now I see things differently. The betrayal cut deep, but in some twisted way, it also opened my eyes to the reality of human nature. I've learned that people will do almost anything for money and power if they think they can get away with it. Lisa was proof of that. She was willing to lie, cheat, manipulate, and even ruin her own marriage just to get her hands on the house, the savings, and whatever else she thought she deserved. It's a harsh lesson, but one I won't forget. One of the hardest parts was confronting the fact that I'd been so naive. I kept asking myself over and over, how did I not see it? How did I miss all the signs? But the truth is, I was too comfortable, too trusting. I believed in her, in us. And that's what she played on: my trust, my love. I let my guard down and she exploited that. It's a mistake I won't make again. Now I focus on rebuilding. I've started therapy, trying to process everything emotionally. I've also been working on my finances, making sure I'm protected from any future manipulations. I've realized that I need to be more cautious, more aware of the people I let into my life. Not everyone is who they seem to be, and sometimes the biggest betrayals come from those closest to you. I still get angry sometimes, especially when I think about how she lied to everyone, how she spun her web of deceit to cover her tracks. But I also feel a sense of relief. I'm finally free from her manipulations, free to find someone who truly values honesty and loyalty. I know now that I deserve that. I deserve better than someone who'd betray me for a quick payoff. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, I want to say this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the little signs of betrayal or manipulation. Be vigilant, even with those you love most. Because once the trust is broken, it's almost impossible to repair. And most importantly, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Fight for what's rightfully yours, even if it means going through hell first. This experience has left scars, no doubt, but it's also made me stronger. I've learned to value myself more, to see through the lies, and to never let anyone manipulate me again. I still believe in love, but now I know how to protect myself from the ones who would use it against me. So I'm moving forward, one step at a time, rebuilding my life, my confidence, and my future. I may have lost a lot, but I also gained clarity, and in the end, that's what matters most. I hope my story serves as a warning but also as a reminder. Stay vigilant, stay strong, and never let anyone take away your peace. Because your worth isn't measured by what others steal from you, it's measured by how you rise after they try to break you. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for listening.